The Roscommon County Board of Commissioners work session for May 14th at 9 a.m. We are going to switch the order a little bit, and we are going to have the Roscommon County Prosecutor present first.
On the list, Mondays and Wednesdays are district court days, and Tuesdays are our circuit court days. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here today requesting the board, on behalf of all three judges, the three attorneys in the prosecutor's office, and our county referee, to allow Jody to reallocate funds to the county law library to cover the costs of what our Westlaw, which is our legal research, is going to cost and increase. The past 5 years, we had a contract, and the monthly charge was $892 per month for 7 users. That's what we have in this county is 7 users. Primarily, my belief is because of AI and the cost of AI, and all of these research facilities are moving to AI. Our cost has over doubled and will now be $1,935 per month. And Westlaw is an essential legal research tool that every single one of our judges use, every single one of our prosecutors use, our referee uses. That's how we keep updated on daily changes in statutes, daily changes in case law, all our legal research, policies and procedures. Not having a legal research tool is like a mechanic not having their tools to operate on your car. It's impossible. It's a quintessential item that we need in our tool belt to operate as lawyers and judges and referees. Our law library fund does not have the allocated funds to cover this new contract. It'll be for 5 years, 7 users, which is the 7 people we have in the county that require it, for $1,935. So I'm requesting the commissioners to reallocate funds to cover this essential expense. The only other really legal research company out there is LexisNexis. They are just as competitive. They're going to cost just as much. There really isn't any other legal research tools out there that does everything that we need in order to do our job successfully. So that's the short of it.
Any questions?
Yeah. Are you still up and running with this? When does it expire?
Well, the old contract actually expired about 45 days ago, but Westlaw has a 60-day window in which to either re-up or get out.
So we're okay in 2 weeks, or is this something we need to make a decision on?
This is something they're waiting for decision, frankly, today.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Mr. Prosecutor, for being here. Yeah, we need to reallocate these funds so you can do your job.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we can do that today, that'd be great.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is this electronically only, or is this?
Oh, this is our internet-based legal research only. This isn't any of the other products that serves. This doesn't cover books. It doesn't cover any court rules or anything like that we receive. This is an independent contract only for online legal research.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it's almost like a licensing agreement per your users, because everybody has to pay. If you had 12 users, you would have a higher dollar amount.
That's
You have
true.
7.
And they group it 0 to 7. We could go 0 to 5, but then we'd have to ask 2 people not to use it, and it's just not possible. And then it goes up from there. So this is just the minimum category that we have that we can use for our county.
If you went to less than 7, you're still going to have the same price, because it's in a bucket of 0 to 7, get this, so you might as well use 7.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And you can't share. I mean, you're violating the user agreements if you tried to share.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Huh? You want to know how much? No, I already figured that out. Per month, the difference. We would be taking it, I'm assuming, from the general fund, correct?
Yes, so what you would be doing is we have a $50,000 contingency fund. So it would be a approval to authorize me to transfer $50,000, or I'd say roughly $7,258 from the contingency fund to the law library fund for an additional allocation to cover the increase.
And we are exploring other expenses from the library fund to see whether or not they're necessary, because there are, for example, there are statutory books and law books that are in a separate contract. And I'm exploring whether or not the judges truly need to have the hardcover books, whether they can't just rely upon the internet. So those are also in the talks, but we're still in that contract. So when that contract comes up for renewal, I'm looking at some savings from the law library in that respect as well.
Good to know. Thank you for doing that. Sure.
Jody,
Thank you.
that transfer of fund goes on for 5 years then, a yearly thing?
No, so this initial allocation will only cover 2025's budget. And then when we set the law library fund for
You
2026,
just
I
have to
think.
budget different
Just
next
have
year.
to budget it
Actually, I
different.
think the next year's increase is on the, like, the third page. It shows you.
Yeah.
every year what the increases were.
Fourth page,
Fourth page, I was close.
page. Okay,
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Madam Chair, are we trying to make this decision today at some point? Is it this meeting or another meeting? Because I may have a couple other questions.
If you have questions, go ahead, you can ask them.
So this will be for Jody. Of that 50,000 in our contingency fund, what else has already been kind of needed for that contingency? Or we have 50,000 left? How much would this, I
We
just want to
budgeted
make sure.
50,000 and we have 50,000.
Okay.
We rarely use the contingency fund.
Okay.
Annually. We try very hard not to.
Right.
This is something they need.
Heard of anything else coming down the pike that we might need to use money out of the contingency fund for at this
Correct.
point? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, it would.
I would say this would require
Yep.
board action,
Action.
yes,
Is
because you're
reallocating
allocating
money.
more money to a different fund from our fund, since it's a transfer from Fund A to Fund B.
So we would have to write a motion for our next meeting in order to do it.
Correct.
And
Yeah, it does.
because we're unlimited time,
It falls under our category where we can do it at the next meeting.
if everybody's in agreement.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good.
Any other questions on it? Okay. Delinquent tax revolving fund policy, discussion of the whole.
So the delinquent tax revolving fund policy is something that the former treasurer and myself drafted, more her, me making it fancy, to give the Board of Commissioners a tool in order to understand, A, the real purpose of the delinquent tax revolving fund, and B, to be able to have an amount annually that they could say, hey, this is something we could allocate towards a capital improvement, or could transfer to capital improvements, or we have the ability to do A, B, C, D with. So there's a formula put into here. Treasurer Dankert has looked it over, and I know she's got some information for you, and some comments and thoughts.
Yes, so when I reviewed it, I kind of put dollars and cents to what the policy says. And I started with, it said, mentioned that it shall not be less than 125% of the prior year's delinquency. So this year, I just took 2024, what I paid off, which was 4.6 million, multiplied that by 125%. So theoretically, we should have a balance in the delinquent tax revolving fund of $5,750,000. When I look at what's in there as of the end of April, right now we have 4.6 million roughly in there. But then I projected between May 1st and March of next year, how much we will be bringing in delinquent tax monies. And I based that on the prior year, so roughly we'll be bringing in another 3.3 million in the next year on those that pay their delinquent taxes. So that puts us at just over $8 million. And then we have set aside $2 million already to pay off those prior year foreclosure excess proceeds. So that money comes off the top of that. So now we're down to $6 million. In our projection, we want 5.7 million in there. So that leaves you roughly $272,000 of what I would call discretionary or for capital improvements, things like that, if we follow that path. So I think we're on track to do exactly what this policy says. And I didn't come across any other issues with that when I went over it. It all was pretty self-explanatory.
Good job.
Thank you for that, Marcy. Any questions on this? Yes.
Madam Chair, I do, sorry. You know, new kid always has the questions. So in the policy, it talks about only special projects and non-operating expenditures. Can you give me some examples of what non-operating expenditures might be?
Non-operating expenditures, for instance, if you were going to have some sort of and really it's going to go mostly towards capital improvements or one-time hits. So for instance, if we decided that we needed to purchase additional air units on top, if there was a major leak that had to be repaired, if you were going to do sound system upgrades, those type of things.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do a match for some sort of an economic grant or something, those funds would be available
That
for
helps.
that.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. So with permission of the board, we would move this to our next meeting in 2 weeks for any revisions, if anybody had anything to talk about, and then for final approval. Is that okay?
I support that.
Emery Road eminent domain. We have Alan Ackerman here to present.
Thank you for letting me speak with you. My name's Alan Ackerman. I didn't know some of my clients would be coming here today. I wasn't ready for them. I know how irritated they are. I sent you a letter explaining some of my frustration with this, and it's frustration because I'm used to doing road widenings and really clear utility line cases for windmills downstate in the thumb, and electric lines for now for solar energy. And this is what they did is that there's a line there, a normal residential line going down Emery that never needed to clear trees. And through a joint action of the MPS and their requirements, Consumers has been required to put in a new line or wanted to upgrade its line between two substations because they have wind coming in and in this area, and wind meaning wind turbines. And what happened here is that we have a situation where there's been a lot of outages, and this comes before our snowstorm up north of here. I don't think it touched Roscommon itself, but it was in the north end of the county, I understand, and clearly all the way to Traverse City. And the rationale is that we need a better 128 kV line that's going to be clear, have all the trees cleared so we don't lose any lines. I know that if you talk to my clients, they believe that they should have put it on a different road, and where there were a lot less residential properties. Consumers' problem and a reasonable excuse is they can't put it in real clear wetlands. And the reason Consumers doesn't want to put it in areas that are wetlands is because if trees take those lines down, they'll have no way of coming back, getting in without taking weeks to get vehicles into the property. And it's a real problem. It's a conundrum, as they say in fancy towns. And I got provided in front of you a couple of the appraisals that were prepared. Am I upset with the appraisal? Absolutely. Consumers, under the law, before the government acquires property, the government is required to make what's called a good faith offer. In this case, Consumers made a good faith offer because they had an appraisal valuing the the per foot value, and they gave a percentage of per foot value of where their easement is. And the easement's an interesting easement. It's 20 feet of clear area and 40 feet of trees that can't touch the line or can't growth, that can't go and hit the wires. And then another 20 feet of safe area. And in addition to that 80 feet, consumers is allowed to go beyond that if a tree is high enough that it can come and affect the line. We need to make sure that we have electricity, but we also need people to be treated fairly. And before you, I gave you two of the appraisals. These are the government's offers for Neil Kellogg's property over on Emery Road. And they extended offer just on a per square foot basis of what they took. Take a look where his house is, and you take a look at the tree in front of it, and you got a $3,700 offer. Just so we understand, if you're facing south on Emery Road, you're going to get the summer sun. And I know that people think it's cool up north in the summer, not when you have the sun bearing down on your house. And you have, so all these houses, none which needed air conditioning, much like God had it, are going to require air conditioning. But that's only the beginning of the problem. The second one you have is on 7086 West Emery, and that's Mr. Bratta's house. And Mr. Bratta basically the family built that house, 85 years ago, if you know the Brattas at all. They owned the acreage in this area. And that one, the easement is cutting in front and on the side of their house, all 120 feet in. It's effectively over their house. Now, what's going to happen? I'm going to go claim that they're totally taking the house. And I think a jury in this county has common sense and will agree. And Mr. Bratta will get money, and we'll have a 96-year-old guy who's going to end up moving out of the house if he survives. He's not in good health. If he survives, and he'll get paid, the whole value of the house. And in this state, because of our Constitution, he gets paid 125% of value. But most of these people aren't going to lose their houses. And the second, consumers made some other mistakes. One is they aren't removing the stumps. They say stumps is part of the damages and the loss in value of the house. They aren't. People snowmobile in this county, and when they snowmobile, if they hit stumps, they get hurt. It's unsafe. We have to get the stumps removed. And they just, ITC did this exact condemnation for me in Oil City, which is 30 miles west of Midland. It's 8 miles east of Mount Pleasant. And they removed their stumps. And do I blame consumers? To an extent. But that, consumers is still a responsible organization. They have representatives in this county who are known by all of you, and I respect them. These are reasonable people. I don't know what you do here. One thing, your legislator, I don't think will be supportive of this, because I think that you have someone who's supportive of all the alternative energy sources to the extent that it destroys the possibility of having someone say, we have to start burying lines here, which would resolve the problem. But I thought it was worthwhile to come up here and look at you in the eye and say, this is a mess. And the county, you pass the resolution and you send it out to the legislature. I don't know what else you can do precisely, but I'd urge you, when you meet with the other county officials throughout by the way, the urban counties probably feel the same way, and figure out how to minimize this damage and cut the situation short. Could I have challenged a condemnation for not having a good faith offer and making them get the appraisals they're now going to get? And they're going to appraise these properties, and they probably won't pay the fee, or they're going to fight about paying the fee. They pay out my attorney fees, allegedly, 1/3 of the increase. This is a case that I shouldn't be charging a fee from their $4,000 offers to what even they're going to admit is the damage. And they're going to have new appraisals for $30,000 and $40,000. It's not fair to these people. They've been sitting here for a year with $1,000 in their pocket. In this case, there's $3,000, and these are two of the higher offers. I don't know how you do this. I want you to think about it as county officials about what you want to do. When you have your statewide meeting, you should ask the other counties what they're doing in dealing with the utilities. A little more I can say to you than that. If you have any questions, just pound away and tell me what your thoughts are.
Anyone have any questions? Yes.
More of a comment, Madam Chair. As Mr. Ackerman pointed out, this county board did pass a resolution. I I know Darlene and myself put a letter in the paper supporting the Emery Road project. I've been to Jeffrey Lavoie's house many times. I've attended some of the meetings. This board has been rock solid behind the Emery Road project. Unfortunately, consumers, in my opinion, they haven't been as concerned as they should be. This is about people, and people should come first.
You know, Commissioner Milburn, I agree with you. I mean, the first thing you said is Jeff going to be here. I said, I hope not, because I know he's so revved up about this, and he's here. And you know, the people, I'm here to represent them, and I'm trying to talk as softly, because they would not speak so softly if they were offered the opportunity. We're on TV, and so I'm not worried. But, you know, it's like, it's an awful situation. We really appreciate what you've done for us.
Mr. Lavoie offered a recommendation to consumers, and consumers rejected it totally.
Yeah, I mean, I understand to an extent what consumers did here. I'm not sure the consumers really made the effort that it could have made in looking for an alternative site. And I'm not an engineer, and we thought about hiring a lawyer to challenge us, and he said $50,000. And when you're getting $2,000 offers as a group of 33 of you, you're not going to, you know, I mean, look, I reversed Poletown. I'm the lawyer who had the case that said Poletown was unconstitutional. I did it for free, but it was a laughable story. What happened is Crane's magazine, the business magazine, called the lawyer who bragged, I'm going to challenge this project. I've got this farmer here, I'm going to challenge it. So my clients called me and said, well, are you going to do it too, Alan? And I said, I guess so. I had no plan of doing it. That's all I got. And I did that without getting paid. And in this case, we have to pay that person. The offers are $2,000. I don't know what the consequence is if he could have won. I don't think he would have won, because there's a similar challenge being made down in northeast of Portland, Michigan, and I don't think they're being successful with the MPSC. The other challenge here is that you know, a circuit judge could really be hard put to stop this project from happening, especially because he's got a court of appeals that would reverse him if he said this project wasn't valid. It probably is valid. But this isn't something I just want to negotiate out money for these people.
Public concern should be important to consumers.
Beg your pardon?
The public concern should be important to consumers. You know, you mentioned Mr. Bradda. I saw Mr. Bradda yesterday at the Commission on Aging to have lunch. I've known Mr. Bradda for a long, long time, probably several people in this. He's a great guy, and to do what they're doing to Mr. Bradda is unconscionable.
I'm going to try these cases. I mean, your poor circuit judge was worried about this. I mean, until consumers pays, I'm going to just try the cases. That's how I feel I'm here for. It's the honor to do it for me. I've been doing it for 53 years. I'm not going to stop anytime soon. God be willing. That's it.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So, Mr. Ackerman, I think we all agree that we have been in very much support that this has been a challenge for the people, no doubt. I hear that not we, but others have tried to push our legislators. And is this a battle between legislators and judicial? Or where is the need? Who can make it change? I guess is my question.
I think the first, the leader of the inability to change is, of course, the governor, who she's made this. Look, I'm not going to get into this political fight about clean air.
That's
and all
okay.
that.
I understand.
But the fact is that the governor could start using some common sense on some of this stuff. And she appoints an MPSC, which is a rubber stamp for the utilities. I think someone here is from consumers. I'm sorry, I apologize to say it that way, but it's really true. MPSC just puts things through. And, they've had a hearing. They had the original ITC hearing. The administrative officer who hears it before it goes to MPSC found that they weren't doing it the right way, that there was not the right route. And MPSC reversed the hearing, the administrative officer's decision, who's a neutral officer. So, I mean, you're not going to get help from the MPSC. And your only possible help is from the legislature, which you have control of one house of people who think that there has to be some control of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And, I just don't think this is something they're going to get through unless there's unanimity on what they do. And the governor will veto it after the fact.
That is actually kind of where I was trying to uncover, because I believe the House
did
pass a bill to kind of negate some of the solar and the renewable energy is on state land. That's all they pushed. And that passed. I'm not sure if it's gone through the Senate, and if it did, would that even get a veto? So if legislators at this point in the junction are not your immediate help, if I'm hearing correctly, you need better resolution for your clients for compensation.
Well, you know, right. I mean,
Okay.
some things get resolved, like homeowners used to get their money, and if your house gets sold and you've owned your house for 20 years, I can look at all of you. There's not one of you who's paying the taxes on the value of your house right now because of what was it called, Prop C from years ago. These people here, when they move, they get 2 years of their old tax, and then they have to pay the new value. So if they bought a house for 40 that's now worth 150, they got to pay on the 150 starting in 2 years. That's a cost you never think of. And we passed legislation for the 2 years. We did other things, and I was there at the meeting when we did this after Poletown, because the whole state was in we said, what happened was in 2003, the legislature said, you know, and we had these meetings, and we said, you know, they reversed Poletown with this Hathcock, the second decision, and they could go back and have a new Supreme Court that reverses it back. So we said, we're going to pass a constitutional amendment. And the legislature came up with 2/3 of the vote. That was, we got, what's his name, Kwame Kilpatrick to vote for it. Don't ask, it was not a kosher deal. Anyway, so, you know, so we got it, that passed in the state with 83%, which is the highest proposal ever passed at that time, because people voted no on proposals. And one of them is that if you lose your home and it's your home, residential home, you get 125% of the value. So, but for Mr. Brada, at 90-some years old, I would just rather have him there and not have the wires up for a couple of years, you know. Let God bless him, let him live his life in peace. It ain't going to happen.
So just one quick follow-up, if that's okay. So it sounds like the ask for us is continued support, although we've done support. If we have legislative conversations to talk to them, to help them for a future, because it may not change today, but to help push for that going forward, is that the request?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
you know, let the Resorter and the other papers around here think about it too. I mean, the Resorter has not written about this at all. I'm shocked.
I'm not so sure the articles in the paper change our legislative decisions. I think
It's
that's,
just the emotions in the community.
you
so
wish, but I think it is that people voice and getting them in front of people. So, okay,
All
that
works.
helps.
Well, thank you for your time. This is, any other questions?
I think it's important to note, too, I think it's not an overreach that our townships have been supportive also.
Thank you again. Thank you
Yeah.
all.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks you, Mr. Lavoy, and your crowd for being here today.
The crowd's quiet, I love it.
We really appreciate it.
You always have our support.
Treasurer report, first quarter 2025. Marcy Danker, our county treasurer.
So everyone should have gotten the quarterly report in their packet. At the last meeting, I did take note that someone had commented that it's a lot of information. So I'd just like to take a minute to kind of go through it a little bit. The first sheet kind of looks like this, a spreadsheet. This is a listing of all the banks that we utilize in the county for road commission to general fund to all the other special funds. So you'll see highlighted at the bottom those totals, and then the very last section, we have 3 certificates of deposit that we carry, and that is a separate total. But behind that spreadsheet is the supporting documents out of the general ledger that show that we balanced the money in the banks to what our general ledger says. So the first one, it covers from January 1st to January 31st, and on the second page, you'll see the amount of total cash highlighted, and then any reconciling items that pertain to that, whether it's credit card money that we've accounted for in the general ledger that hasn't hit our bank yet. Those are typically the items you're going to see, because departments will account for that money at the end of the month, and we're not getting dollars until the beginning of the next month. So you'll see that subtracted. And so that total of the cash should then correlate to the month on the spreadsheet of the total in the banks. And you'll see that for each of the months in the quarterly report. So you've got January, February, and March all listed, along with the report showing what's in the investments or the CDs, and that matches what is in the bank. So I just want to take a minute to kind of explain the documents that you're getting so that you understand when we balance the banks to the general ledger, how we come to that number. So everything is looking very well and on track for the year, so that is going well. Just a couple other things in the treasurer's office. March 31st was our foreclosure deadline, so we have foreclosed on 31 parcels this year, and they will be going to public auction this summer. I think our first auction is August 28th. It's entirely online, and people can register online and bid that way. We have, so far this year in our PRE denial interest, we've issued several denials, and we have collected over $8,500 in interest on that, and we've budgeted $10,000. So we're definitely on track to exceed what we have budgeted, just based on, and that can fluctuate year to year, just based on the number of investigations we do and audits and the dollars attached to those denials. We are still working on, you heard me earlier say we've set aside $2 million for the foreclosures, where people can file for those excess proceeds from tax years 2013 to 2020. We have received 44 notice of intents from those foreclosures of people wanting to tap into that excess proceeds. Our next step is July 1st. We have to send out a certified notice to all claimants. So all 44 will get a certified notice from the county stating that they have to file a motion with circuit court. And I do believe that deadline is October 1st. So hopefully by the end of this year, we will have all of that finalized. We'll know how much we have to pay out, and we can put that kind of behind us at this point. So that's on those prior year foreclosures. Last year in our foreclosures, we had 5 people file the notice of intent. And their filing deadline is tomorrow for a motion with circuit court. We've had 1 person file so far, and I do believe we have a couple more coming in. 2 of the claimants, there were no excess proceeds, so those kind of just go away. At this point, there's nothing for them to claim. And then for this year's foreclosures, that out of the 31 that we did, we've already received 2 notice of intents. So we're dealing with several years worth of notice of intent and excess proceeds, and it's just an ever-evolving process. But that is kind of what's been going on in the treasurer's office. Any questions?
I like fun.
Yes. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcy. Budget adjustment requests. Administrator Controller Jody Valentino.
So these are all actually administrative type of budget adjustments that I wanted to bring before you based on our new budget management policy. There are 4 separate ones. The sheet that I saw you is essentially the movement, so I'll explain this to you. So obviously, our clerk's office had a May election that increased both the expenses and then will increase the revenues as well. So that is the very first one, with election reimbursement revenues being increased to recognize the reimbursement she'll get into that office, and then the office supplies and expenses being increased as well. The second set, Marcy led into this perfectly, thank you. So the 101-253-703 line item is elected officials' salaries and expenses. That actually is an $8,650 payment that went to the former treasurer for cash outs, et cetera. So I don't want anybody to think that we're paying this year's treasurer more. In speaking with Marcy, what we went through was we do have her PRE denial interest revenues that, as she said, are already at roughly 90% of what was budgeted, and we're not even halfway through the year. So to offset increases in lines 703, 807, we would be looking at increasing the $8,650 to the PRE denial interest revenues, plus an additional $250 for the tax search revenues, which we actually didn't budget for, and we already have $250 in. Banking fee expenses was also not budgeted as an expense, and it is something that our treasurer caught. This year's treasurer caught that hadn't been put in, so we wanted to correct that as well for this year. The HXA expense line item is actually an expense line item out of the general fund for the buildings and grounds departments. So we did have a full-time employee who received HSA front loading at the beginning of the year who has retired. We hired that with another full-time person. That person actually then receives a prorated amount of that HSA. But we didn't budget for anybody to leave, so that $4,950 increase in expenses is actually a non-budgeted because we didn't realize that we would be paying somebody else because we didn't know somebody would be retiring. So in that, oh look, I misspelled that. In that, we can offset these security expenses by $4,950. So we would just be transferring that, making that budget adjustment from the HSA and security expenses within the buildings and grounds. The very last one is an item that is traditionally budgeted for, and I believe with the turnover, it was just something that was neglected. The probation department, which is actually the MDOC probation department, traditionally has $2,000 budgeted for their phone lines that run through us that we do pay for as a part of their being on site for us. Central Filing Administration has a budgeted line item of $4,000 that they have not spent in the last several years, so it would be a budget adjustment of moving that $2,000 from Central Filing Administration to Probation Department expenses. And I would just need that on for an approval at your next regular meeting in 2 weeks.
Any questions? So we'll get those motions, or however we have to do it, correct, Jody? Okay. Okay. Roscommon County Jury Board appointments. Our clerk register of deeds, Michelle Stevenson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I sent you all an email yesterday. This was kind of it was a process. So with the jury board, I kind of explained it to you a little bit in that email so what we were doing, this is a 6-year appointment. So it's like when my previous jury board members were appointed, I was like, well, sorry, it's like being in prison. But anyway, this time as I was like, oh, hey, their terms expire at the end of April, I need to send this out. So I request names from the Republican and Democratic Party chairs, and they provide, I always ask for 3 names. I'm lucky if I get 3 names. Sometimes I'm lucky if I get 1. Thankfully, both party chairs were able to provide me with 2 names from each party. And then by statute, those names are provided to the chief judge, and then the chief judge makes his recommendations as to who he would like to see appointed to the jury board. And one of the things I had suggested to Judge Bennett when I sent over the list of names was that we stagger these terms. And he was like, well, why didn't we do this before? I'm like, I have no idea. I had a lot of cleaning up when I came in with regard to the jury board, and it was just not something that even thought about until this year. And I was like, why can't we just stagger these so we have a new person every 2 years? So what we would do is have one person out of the 3 recommended to serve a 6-year term, another one 4-year, another one a 2-year. So then in 2 years, that individual could apply to be reappointed if they so choose. And if their party supports that reappointment. But then that way, I'm not sitting with 3 brand new people every 6 years. And I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be here in 6 years, so who knows? So anyway, the judge, and then it was trying to get letters of interest from each of the individuals. And we've gotten those, and I provided that information to Judge Bennett, so then he did provide his recommendations. And I had listed them to you, and he is recommending that we appoint Jamie Howe as a representative from the Republican Party for a 6-year term, and Shara Fitzgerald as a representative from the Democratic Party for a 4-year term, and Deborah Kellogg from the Republican Party as a 2-year term. Is there any questions? Do you have any questions on this? I knew Rex did because he moved his microphone close to him and sat back.
Thanks for moving your microphone.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you mentioned staggering these, and you said we'd have a new person every 2 years. Might it not be the old person also?
Yes, so I misspoke with that, and they can reapply, but they can, so after the 2-year appointment, they can, person for the 2-year, they can apply to be reappointed.
Okay.
But if they decide, you know what, I really am not interested in that, they can request to not be reappointed.
Step down.
So,
Any other questions? Okay, so we just need a motion.
yes, we'll
At the-
provide, yep,
Okay.
we'll send those motions over to Joe so that you have those all spelled out.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. L4029 tax rate request, our equalization director, Jamie Hauserman.
Thank you.
I'm sure your phone's gonna fall out of your pocket.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't make it to your packet, unfortunately.
Thank
We always
you.
have time issues. Thank you. All right. Good morning, honorable members of the Board of Commission for Roscommon County. As you know, I am Jamie Hauserman, your Equalization Director. In front of you today is the 4029 tax rate request, is a state tax commission certified form. This is your summer levy for 2025 for Roscommon County. This is very much a statement of transparency. It is your 2025 tax rate request for the County of Roscommon to be levied on all properties within the summer tax bill for 2025 of each of the local jurisdictions. It will be levied at a taxable value of $1,884,934,656. As you know, during the equalization report in April, that's the same taxable value number that was in that reporting. It's a 6.1% increase over last year. Due to that, of course, it triggered a Headley rollback. And so if you look down at your line items in each of the columns, it is an allocated general fund revenue source that was originally voted on in November of 1978 at a millage rate of 4.6 mils. Since then, it has, over the years, due to the Headley Amendment, been eroded to a 3.4613 that you were able to levy last year. That's in column number 5. This year, as you'll notice, due to that substantially large 6% increase versus the 3% inflation rate, you end up with another Headley rollback. This time that Headley rollback being a 0.9852, giving you a final total available to levy in column number 9 of 3.41 for 2025. That's the maximum that you can levy in this cycle. With that said, it's my recommendation and that of your controller that you levy the full 3.4100 mils, as you've budgeted already for that number. This report was compiled under the provisions of MCL 211.24E, which is Truth in Taxation, MCL 211.34, which is Truth in County Equalization and Truth in Local Assessing, and 211.34D, which is the Headley Amendment,
and MCL 211.37, which is apportionment. Do you have questions for me about the reporting?
Any questions?
Never.
Thank you.
Great job as always.
Thank you. So at this time, we will do a certification, and that certification is, as representatives of this local government, we certify that these requested tax rate levies have been reduced if necessary to comply with the state constitution, Article 9, Section 31, and that the requested levy rates have also been reduced if necessary to comply with MCL 211.34E and 211.34. So at this time, then, I respectfully request that the following motions be adopted at your May 28th meeting. A motion to levy the ad valorem tax rate for the County of Roscommon for the year 2025 on the summer tax rolls at 3.4100 mils. And also a motion to authorize your chairperson, Darlene Sensor, and your county clerk, Michelle Stevenson, to sign the L4029. That's all I have for you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Pretty impressive that the estimate for the budget is exactly, that takes a lot of work, I think, on your end to calculate as accurately as possible and not have any major surprises, so thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
So we track the consumer price index is ultimately the increase in rate of your taxable value annually. That's a 24-month rolling calendar by the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So each month we try to track that to give you the best idea possible going in. I told you a couple months ago when I visited you that we were on target for about a 2.1% increase for 2026. That's still right at about that 2% mark. I don't believe you'll see much more than that. So highly likely then that does not trigger a rollback fraction in 2026. But we're closely monitoring that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
So with nothing further on our work session, this meeting would be adjourned, and our next meeting starts at 10 a.m.
Hurry up and get to your chair.
Roscommon County Board of Commissioners meeting for May 14th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for
You're welcome. Roll call, please.
Milburn.
Here.
Russo.
Here.
Morley. Spencer.
Here.
Wolfson.
Approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, with amendment.
Second.
What's the amendment?
I got lost.
You had a motion?
Addition of motion.
Yeah, we did. Yep. Sorry about that. And then Russo second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wolfson.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Morley.
Yes.
Russo.
Yes.
Milburn.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approval of the consent agenda. The items in the consent agenda are the meeting minutes from April 23rd, 2025, Lake Level Control Structure meeting, the regular board meeting, and the Budget and Finance Committee of the whole meeting. Class A's in the amount of $1,472,193.07, and claims and accounts in the amount of $127,093.44. Correspondences A through E, which include the MAC legislative updates, letter to the Board of Commissioners regarding the veterans' help that they had received from our Veterans Office, monthly department reports from the sheriff for April 2025 activity report and the April 2025 animal control stats and shelter stats, our administrator controller report, and the county clerk register of deeds report. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Madam Chair, at this time, would you allow me the privilege to read a letter that was in the packet? Since the Veterans Office is here? Or you want to wait till public, or till the very end?
No, you can, that's fine. You can read it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is from, it says, I am writing to thank all of you for providing veteran service to the veterans of Roscommon County. The help I received from both Heath Neiman and Alicia Pastel was amazing and so helpful in navigating through the extensive and sometimes overwhelming paperwork the VA requires when filing a claim. My claim for Agent Orange exposure began when Alicia and Heath filed initial paperwork in September 28, 23. After being initially rated 20%, they continued explaining what I had to do to receive increases and filed new paperwork for an increase based upon other medical problems I suffered. The end result, after all their hard work, was that yesterday I was awarded 100%. This is a life-altering for my wife, Mona, and me. I could not have accomplished this result without their knowledge and spirit to keep pursuing what I deserve. Same is signed by Mr. James Fairman. I'd like to thank Mr. Fairman for sending that letter, and I'd like to thank publicly the Veterans Board for their continued support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. You made the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I thought Mark.
Roll call, please.
Milburn,
Yes.
Wolfson. Yes. Spencer,
Yes.
Worley,
Yes.
Russo.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Public comment limited to the agenda items only. Is there any public comment regarding agenda items? Come on up, state your name.
Lights on. Craig Cotterman, Houghton Lake. Are you voting on this? There's a motion to adopt the operations handbook. Is that what you're voting on at this meeting, or is it the next one?
We don't answer any questions during public comment.
Sorry. Okay, I'm assuming that you're going to vote on this motions to adopt the operations handbook. Guess wish you wouldn't. It's not possible. Seems like you want water when you want it in the summertime, and you're going to either save it or try to bank it. Of course, with the average spring that we've had, there's been widespread flooding around Houghton Lake. Sent some pictures to Darlene, and I tried to send them to Kim, but I don't navigate phones very well. I think they went to somebody else I thought was Kim, but at any rate, there's been widespread flooding around Houghton Lake. North Shore, that was probably more of a snow rain event. Off Iroquois, that was water getting blowed out of the lake and flooding people's homes and crawl spaces. We had some flooding on Old Trail, but it was pretty much confined to the first 10, 15 feet. Of course, my neighbor lost some of his dock, and he lost his jet ski. His jet ski is totaled. We pulled it up at my house, a big hole in it. This is what you have when you have too much water in the lake and you have storm damage. Again, from what I gathered from the USGS site, it's a fairly average spring. Like I think we're about 3/4 of an inch over normal right now. And of course, a few months ago, we were 3/4 of an inch below normal. So it's a fairly normal year. And yet, you know, the Wi-Fi station in East Bay come up the other day with the wind blowing was at 1139.3. Flood stage is 1139.6, so we're just a few inches off flood stage. Again, I don't think this banking water, this backdoor approach to banking water, you say there that you want to maintain a legal lake level, but then you want to bank water at certain times in the summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items? Visitors. The recognition of the Sheriff's Association 2025 Victim Service Advocate of the Year. Jan Liam.
I'm going to kick this off if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
Early on, not too long ago, I had an opportunity to learn about our Victim Services Unit through our Under Sheriff Lowe. And I had a chance to go to one of their meetings and hear the stories about the work that they do. And it was pretty compelling. I think I mentioned this in one of my other reports, how in times of crisis and what we go through, our law enforcement, our emergency people, our management, our fire, everyone's doing their jobs. They're trying to take care of that particular task. And that victim or the person who is left standing there needs help. And the Victim Services Unit really is that fill to those people who are going through that trauma. And as I listen to the stories, very heartfelt of the things that they go through, the times that they go above and beyond, they're self-funded. They don't take money from our county. They raise all their funds to do all the things that they need to do, which is, I would imagine, quite a bit of money and time that they dedicate, and there's not a lot. And so as I thought about that, and there is a sheriff's conference for the state that is just happened recently, and there was an opportunity to nominate people in our county for the work that they have done. And so today we have an award and a winner of that here with us. So I'm going to have our Under Sheriff Lowe come up with Jan and tell us a little bit about her, and then we'll have a little something for her.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
So for those of you who don't know Jan, this is Jan Lehman. We did just have Michigan Sheriff's Association Victim Services Conference in Lansing, and there are 2 separate days of that conference. One day is held for directors, sheriffs, undersheriffs, liaisons, and it's a smaller group. The second day of that conference is for victim advocates around the state, and there are, my last count, 53 different victim services units around the state, serving counties all over, full of volunteers who donate their time to help their communities. And in that second day, there was, I would estimate, probably about 400 advocates in that room that were all receiving training that day. And Jan was chosen out of that group of 400 advocates as the state's Advocate of the Year for 2025. Jan is amazing. She is one of the longest standing members of our unit. She's been an advocate for 14 years. For the last 5 years, she has been our unit coordinator. I call on Jan multiple times a week, all week long, every week, for all kinds of things. I would invite any of you that are interested to come to one of our meetings. We meet at Roscommon Baptist Church out on County Road 100, the second Monday of each month at 6 p.m. And it's just a wonderful group of incredible people who are willing to donate their time to deal with the worst things that our road patrol officers deal with, but they're doing it for free. And Jan has been doing that for 14 years. She is involved in so many things and has been involved in so many things. She spends a lot of her time at St. Vincent de Paul. She previously, when the Child Assessment Center first started, she was a counselor for the Child Assessment Center.
Family advocate.
Oh, family advocate.
Yeah.
She is constantly looking for ways to help our community and to really give of herself and ask nothing in return. When we had the Spruce Motor Lodge fire recently, I think Jan worked nonstop on that for probably between 2 and 3 weeks, and still has remnants of that come up, of people that still need help and people that come back and want help. And A majority of the work that Victim Services was designed to do is to help those people on fatal car accidents, suicides, natural deaths, all those really terrible things that we have to deal with in the course of a day in law enforcement. But they do so much more than that. We often end up with people who are stranded in our community and no way to get to their destination and no money, or we have people that are put out of their homes with children and we need an immediate fix while we try to find longer-term solutions. And I'm constantly calling on Victim Services for help with that. And I can't say enough about how much I rely on Jan and how great she is in volunteering for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I think this is such a, we have a lot of struggles, no doubt. We hear them every meeting we come to. We have people frustrated or angry. And there's so many other things that are great in this community. And I think you guys exemplify the heart of what the majority of our county really is, are people who are giving and caring and trying to come up with solutions and not fight a battle. And so thank you for doing that. And I think it's just nice to recognize the good things like you had to that do happen in this community and focus on it. So on behalf of all of us, I think we have a little something to give you. This is for Jan, on all of us, to recognize your service and what we're doing. So I think we're going to do a picture, I think we said. Maybe? Okay, no, they're standing. All right, we're doing a picture.
Yeah, we can snap.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very, very much. No, I couldn't do what you do, that's for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan.
You can do it by the flag, what do you think? Doesn't have to be professional Photoshop, just a picture, No, all of us, let's go. Yeah, on behalf of all of us, so. Sheriff Stern? Come on. That's about you. No, get up here. Come on. Listen, sir. Scooch in, I think we might need more of this. There we go.
Called me out, so. Tell Jan now.
Good?
Rex, can you grab this chair and pull it over?
Get us all, Vanessa.
I got you all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so unfinished business, a quote for the Board of Commissioners meeting room acoustic upgrades.
Big pile of things.
Yep. Here it is.
We received a quote through NetExpress, which is our phone, AV, auto, all of those people, to provide updates for the services, amplifiers, new commercial ceiling speakers, low voltage speaker wires, setups, with the total cost being $10,525.80 for that room. So my thought was, this is, obviously something you guys have been discussing. This is the vendor of record that we utilize for all of these types of upgrades. If this is something that you would like to discuss, would like to have them come in and explain to you, I would just need that information. And then the discussion would have to be made, of course, through the board of where, because this is a non-budgeted item, and obviously $10,000 is going to have to come from someplace. If it's something that you would like to, wait on until we have final numbers for what would be available for those one-time project type of events, completely understandable, but I was just looking for some direction from the board on where you would like to go.
Yes.
For 10 grand, I'll talk louder.
Madam Chair?
That's all I got.
Oh, that's all you had to say? Okay.
That's all I have.
I thought we've been working on reconfiguring the seating here and been making some improvement on it, and I think we should continue in that direction.
I definitely agree.
Any other thoughts or comments?
We did talk about that the biggest issue is really just that we have our microphones. That is where the bouncing back and forth comes. So it's refresh my memory, but I think we were going to think about the seating. We were going to think about how we use our microphones and that those who need to speak into them need to speak into them, do our job. I'm not against if we need to make that investment to do what's right, because we've been talking about what a problem it was. But if we can make it work for people today by doing our own thing first, then I would be more comfortable not spending that money at this point. But knowing that if we do need to move forward and not wait till the last minute when it's become such a problem that now the money's going to be higher, then the quote's going to be more. So if we can test it for a month or so and make sure that we've done everything we can on our own, let's try that and then put it back on the agenda to just revisit to make sure we're done while we've still. Is the quote good for, I'm guessing, maybe a month or so? I don't know.
June 29th.
Say, it's normally 45 days, or.
Yep.
So maybe we can make that an action, that we work on it before then, and at that point, before that quote goes up, we make a decision if we really need it. That's my thought.
I would agree with that. I know that we talked about possibly bringing in a couple speakers to see if that would help project out, and I think by tweaking some things and doing our own due diligence, see if that helps first. And then if it's not, then maybe revisit the idea.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, though, for getting that, Jody.
Yes.
And Andy. I don't know if Andy helped in that or not. Strategic planning, Commissioner Russo.
There's a couple of things I'd like to bring up. I've been hearing out there throughout the county, different agencies, about micromanaging. That is not the case with us, and I want to make it clear. I'm the last one that's for micromanaging department heads or employees. We're trying to move forward on something, and that's something I would not even allow or move a step forward. And I just want to make it clear with the employees and department heads, we are not going that route. If you feel we are, contact myself, call me, email me, or the chair, and we could discuss it, but we're not going to go that route. Second, with Jody's review coming up, in the past, it's always been the chair and the vice chair that sat down with Jody. If we had anything, we would get with the chair or the vice chair prior and do the review. I do not want to see a 5-member board doing her review. Then it becomes a meeting. If we have a closed session, the clerk is still in the meeting. It should still be just the chair and the vice chair, and I would like to keep it that way. And you could, if anybody has any questions, go to Jody or go to the chair or vice chair, and let's continue that route. Thank you.
Anybody have other additional comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
On David's response about the review, you're still okay with us sending a questionnaire out to each board member in the process?
We really haven't done that in the past. If I have a question or, I would just get with the prior, like when Bob and Ken did it, when I done it along with Mark, you guys came to us, and if you had any questions or concerns, and then we would just get with Jody.
What I would like to do is, because it is a 5-person board, I completely understand where you're coming from as far as giving the final review. Mm-hmm. But I think it is very important that every one of us do the questionnaire. I think it's also equally important that as those questionnaires come back to myself and Vice Chair Wolfson, that if we have a question about why something is in the questionnaire, that we have the ability to come and talk to you prior to setting up a meeting with Jody to go over everything. That's, I guess, my only caveat, because I feel if we're the only two filling it out, then it doesn't give the voice of the other three. And I think we all should
And
have
I could-
equal voices.
I could actually work with that, but as far as all 5 board members, we don't need to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hear David's concern. I like to be able to give my input. I've given my input to Jody before, and I've always said to her, if she wants to read it publicly or privately, it's her decision. It's important for every commissioner to give some input. As far as department heads, no. As far as us, yes. The end result obviously would be the chair and vice chair with the final report. But it's important for us to give some information if we feel it's important for Jody and for also for the other board members. Am I speaking loud enough, Craig? He's reading. But I appreciate Dave's comment.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I agree, just 2 people should do the review with an administrator. I would like the questionnaire to go out to the board members so we know how you feel about it, because it's just not our decision. It's 2 people doing the review, but it's not just 2 people's decision, I wouldn't think,
I would agree with that.
so.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I agree that every single one of us should participate in that evaluation. She is the only, I don't even want to say she, the controller position is the only position that we hire. That is the one that we control, in a sense. If we aren't participating, I don't believe we are doing our jobs. As far as who delivers that message, I don't disagree that traditionally it is only the chair when you look at other groups that have to function in Open Meetings Act, school boards and whatnot. The chair of the board is who delivers that message, in hopes that you have a lot of conversation with the rest of the board on why did you put that rating. If you don't understand why there's a 3 or a 5 or a 1, it doesn't allow the chair to give very good feedback to the employee. And that is what it's about. It's about fairness to the person that you hire to give good feedback and understand why that has to happen. So I'm good with that process. By sure, we are behind the 8 ball based on her contract. This needs to be done. Now, as far as department heads, in my personal opinion, we are not here every day. None of us are. And if we only evaluate a person based upon a few hours of when you see them, that's not fair to that person who has to work with every department head and be here every day. I would like to have feedback from them, but if we need to move forward this year without, I'm sure if we have been doing our jobs and circulating and talking to people, you will have enough examples to provide at this point in time. So that's where I stand on it.
The kicker with any kind of report, there should never be any surprises. You know, my background as a military officer is that when I gave a report to one of my officers or one of my enlisted men, they knew the report before they got it because I'd talked with them before. There was never a surprise. If they weren't performing satisfactory, they knew it beforehand. If they were doing an outstanding job, they knew it beforehand. There should be no surprises at a report. It shouldn't be an I got you or a get back time or an aha moment, because it's very important that Jody understands our relationship with her and our relationship with her and her relationship with us. But at the end of the day, you know, we're here a lot more, I think, than people realize. You know, we pop in for all kinds of different meetings. And I talk to different department heads and different employees. And I can tell you, 99.9% of the time, I hear nothing but glowing reports.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Also, I see in their strategic plan, it says annual review and prepare goals and priorities for the administrator. I'd like to strike the last part of that because I think we give direction through motions and resolutions. And I think that's where the controller gets their direction from us. I don't think we need to be
Say that
setting
again, Rex.
goals.
Say that again.
Repeat yourself.
Okay, in the strategic plan, it says annual review and prepare goals and priorities for the controller administrator. I think we should leave it at do the annual review. I think preparing goals and priorities is accomplished through our motions and resolutions adopted by this board. I think that is the way we give direction.
I like to keep that in. I like to keep that in. I understand where you're coming from, but I think establishing priorities and goals are important for us as board members, for us to be able to prioritize what we're asking for Jody and the staff. But at the same time, I'll whatever the collective intelligence of the board is.
Madam Chair, maybe the word prioritize needs a different word, but I think just having a goal with no actions and here are the things, at least in my world of a business owner, here are the great things, here are my strengths, and here are the things that I have to work on to improve before my next evaluation. And those are priorities. Those are the things that you set for their goals and how are you going to get there. And you monitor that throughout the year. If you don't, you have no recourse. You have no ability to manage an employee. So I think goals and priorities and focus, at least I have heard from Jody, I need direction. I don't know what you want from me. So that is why that word is in there. I'm happy if you want to change it to a different word, but I think we're even being asked to give direction. That's my take. Jody? Yes.
I'm feeling like the kids whose parents are step-parents. So, yes, I would like you to follow my contract. Please give me a review. I would like you to follow the process that's outlined in the contract. I have had a conversation with both the vice chair and the chair separately, and we have discussed when you look at the use of department heads, your question needs to be, are you talking about elected officials who have their own roles and run their own departments, or are you talking about the people that report to me? So that would be, to me, a clear delineation. What is your purpose of accepting that feedback? Because there are some things that strategically I can change, and statutorily I cannot. So there's going to be issues there. So that would be, to me, something that needs to be delineated when you choose to go that route. With the exception of setting goals and priorities, yes, it has been a tumultuous 2.5 years for my position, for the county, for the department heads. What used to be the direction of a board that I came into that was a very kind of center focus, they knew the expectations and backed those things that they had asked me to do. It hasn't been that way for 2.5 years. What Commissioner Milborn might say is my job, Commissioner Wolfson says is not my job. So I need there to be a clear delineation of this Board of Commissioners. This job description is what you were given and hired under. And if we're going to want something different than this job description, or how you're carrying out portions of this job description does not fit the overall goals of this Board of Commissioner for the position of Administrator Controller, I need to be given that information. So if you want to see a financial report in every 2-week communication to you because you feel that me providing the information in the manner I currently do doesn't work to achieve the goals of the board, I need that as an action item. I believe that's where Commissioner Morley's kind of going with that. I agree with Commissioner Wolfson that the whole goals and priorities things, everybody has areas of opportunity for growth. At the same time, everybody has areas that they excel in on a consistent basis. I would like to give my employees annual reviews, but in the last several years, that's not something I can do because it just keeps ranging. I'm more than happy if you wanted to throw in there that I never have to touch another lake in my life unless I'm swimming or boating in it. So I'll just put that out there as well. But that is my request of the Board of Commissioners. So I guess in a say to me, you're all right. But that is my feedback for you. So.
We're certainly unscripted, I can tell you that.
Any other comments regarding those things?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would just that issue or any issues on this?
Any issues?
My copy has some things lined out. Is that true at all?
I think this was the last one that we were all sent, yes. Yep.
Mr. Wilson, would you like me to explain what the line was through? Because I did that the last meeting, but I can do it again. We didn't get it done in that month. It got moved. So the things that we were trying to accomplish had to be moved because we didn't get them accomplished in that month.
That's why she put lines through them.
Recollection that we didn't get them done, and we need to either move them or strike them completely.
So I'm confused again.
Okay.
Mine shows being stricken from the record.
No, so,
That's not correct?
no. So basically here where it says, like up in March, review and set goals and expectations, administrator, controller. We did not do that back in March. So she put a line through it so that we know either we need to do away with that altogether or we need to move that to another month. And the board as a whole needs to decide that. Obviously, we're moving that into May because after this meeting, we will get those out to the board so that we can get this accomplished as far as,
Okay, so if there's a line through it, it's not active at this point until the board decides to be active.
yep, it just means that we had talked about getting that completed in April and it wasn't completed.
But it's not moved anyplace else.
Not until the board decides where to move it and what month to move it.
If you look at May, Commissioner Wilson, it is listed again in May. Every time we have met, we have had no decisions on half of this. So I've just
Okay.
moved it as a temporary
All right,
placeholder
so
to
it's just
go,
been moved.
are we
Okay.
doing it or are we not?
So then I would like to speak out on this.
Okay.
item.
Okay.
I thought it was stricken from the record.
All right.
We have down here meet with department heads. And here several months ago, I talked about we need to get around and meet with our department people so everybody knows we're not all robots. Since then, things have developed, and I think it might be better utilized by commissioners going to our departments and asking for like a tour of their department so we understand what goes on in their daily lives. I think we can accomplish more trust by going that route than calling in department heads and meeting with two people.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's what I've done for over the several years here as a commissioner.
And that way, and we don't have to talk about business when we go there, just kind of get an idea of what goes on in their daily lives. And if they want to talk about fishing, we'll talk about fishing. I don't care. But just so everybody knows, neither side's a robot.
Like the jail. I went in there once and hell of a job, but it wasn't.
I mean, here back when we were talking about taking on Scotia prisoners, I went and talked to Lieutenant Beck, and she offered a tour.
It's really neat.
I turned her down. I should not have done that. And I've been trying to meet with her again to rectify that. But I realize now that, yes, we should all make an effort to go around, and we probably have to either have our administrator set it up or contact them, and, you know, because some days they don't want you there. But I think we can handle that increase in the trust and unity by doing that way rather than have meetings with department heads.
Yes.
Ago, under Bob Schneider and Ed Nelson, the guys, even Carl Geiger, I go far that far back. We used to do as often, I know we do this at the jail, that after a meeting, we collectively would go to a department and walk through. And I think it's kind of nice to do that. That way the department head knows we're coming. We know we're coming, and the press goes with us to make sure that, you know, there's no OMA, we don't break any OMA with Meetings Act violations. But I like the idea of maybe the whole board, after a meeting, just going to Clerk Stevenson's department, or equalization, or whatever department, because I know we've done it with the jails, we've done it with Northern Michigan, the Assessment Center, we used to do it with the the kids' prisons over there, the juvenile prison. I guess that wasn't called the juvenile prison. What they called the juvenile prison back then? The detention center. The bottom line is, it's nice if the department heads kind of lead the charge. I just don't want to walk in and go, "Hi, my name's Mark Milburn, show me around." I don't want to do that. I want them to be able to invite us in. But again, if we went and met with the department head every time after we got done with the meeting, it'd only take 15, 20 minutes, and it'd be something that we could all learn from. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, we want to go. That's what I like about it versus them coming here and meeting. Our employees are a strength. Hi to them.
Absolutely.
So in that goal, I would like to change away from meeting with the department heads.
I'm good with that as well.
And people go,
Yeah. May I offer a thought? And one of the things I was trying to accomplish today as I've started this is if we can finish what you want to do for the rest of the month, because we're already halfway through it, and what do you want to do in June? If somebody, and then who's going to own it? Because to sit here and just say we'll do it, and then we can't report on it. If we don't talk about the fact that I just happened to walk into one of the departments today, there's got to be some, in my mind, there's got to be some sort of structure and a plan of who's going to own that. And it sounds like, Rex, if you guys have some really great ideas on how to do department head conversations, that I'd like for one of you to own that goal or that action and put the plan down. What do you want to do? And just plug and put it in the whatever month you think it would work, so that we can continue to follow up and share with our community what are we doing around our actions that meet our goals. So I like all those ideas. I'm just put something in place because I heard nothing else. So would one of you like to own that category?
well,
It's like yesterday in my authority board meeting, I asked Vanessa if Darlene, if you have been over into her building.
Right.
And I could own up stuff 911. Have you ever been in 911?
I have not been in 911.
Nope.
So let me put together some stuff with dates on it, like we talked about yesterday. That's okay with you guys.
I'm okay with anybody who wants to raise their hand and own a project or
My-
own an action. So
my thought is this is not a monthly deadline project. This is ongoing forever.
Exactly.
absolutely.
And anytime someone visits a department and gets a tour or whatever, we could announce it on a committee report or board report and let the other members know we've been there, what we experienced and so forth. Does that work?
But I would also, as a caveat, I would also put a time limit on it. I've been to 911. I think I've been to every department. I stopped over at equalization right after the meeting. The kicker is we need to have a time limit on it so it doesn't turn into a revolving half an hour, 45 minutes. I'd give it like a 15-minute because if you go to 911, they're busy. You don't have necessarily time to chat with us.
We have to work with their schedule.
So 15 minutes, I would let the department head know 15 minutes is about the length of what it would be.
Or less.
Or less, but 15 minutes would be a good target.
So am I hearing that under one of our things that we can do to increase trust in our goal is meeting and going to departments, showing our faces, is that it's not only every month, it is an ongoing thing, but do you believe that there should be something on your plate every month in that category? Every quarter? Every 5 months? What would you like to see in this action plan?
Every quarter.
Okay, so a quarterly that
Yeah, different
departments.
You have the dog pound.
Animal control and shelter.
Have a lot of cats too.
Right? Sometimes guinea pigs.
Yeah, you know.
Quarterly might not be enough, maybe every other month. I'm just throwing out a suggestion.
Well, whatever gets scheduled. We might have things going on 1 month where we can't do it.
Okay.
So why don't, because you guys have some really good ideas, Commissioner Morley has kind of taken as far as this on to fill in and things like that. So I would highly suggest that maybe you reach out to her and put some ideas down so that she can develop a new one, kind of send it out, so we all
Sure.
That'd be
are
great.
on the same page,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
I can do the paperwork and type it up. I just needed something to put back down there so we can continue to review it. So that'd be great. I'd love for both of them to do that.
And, you know, some of this could be as simple as going, sitting down during the court session and seeing what they got to deal with.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think those are all of our ideas that we can, in our own worlds and days, I know Darlene and I work full-time, when do we fit in making sure that we're touching base with the departments and that we aren't robots? You're exactly right. That's one step to building that trust, for sure. So send me your ideas of things that you may want to do. We'll put that in our reports as we report every month and do temperature gauges on how we think we're doing there. That's fine. Since we're kind of on that, sorry, I know.
Oh, you're good.
In the month of May, we continue to talk. Rex, you have brought up a great project that we needed, and that's the policy review. And I've put it down here that we would do something like that every month, and it looks like we're getting one or two done. Are you the owner of this project, that you are kind of going to take the lead of what policies do we need to come before us every month? How is that working? What do you suggest? What
Whatever
is
you
your
want to
idea?
do.
Huh?
Whatever you want to do.
No, it was your idea, and so
It
I
was
want-
my idea originally months and months ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want me to spearhead that, that's fine.
That would be my, because I thought it was a great suggestion. I just don't know who's owning it to make sure we get through it.
Set it up so a monthly report on progress, or, you know, these are the ones we're going to discuss next month or whatever.
Would it help the chair and our controller who are working on these to kind of know what do we need to be thinking about in the next month? So it's not the last minute, oh, we might have to work on this. Would that be helpful, or just randomly whenever you think it? What were your thoughts, Rex?
I think right now the process would be monthly review some of the existing policies. And then in the process, in the background, be thinking about policies we may need. I mean, the controller may have some ideas on some of the policies we may need to develop, or may not.
Right.
But at this point, I think we should review all the current ones. And then when we get to the end of them, if we need to implement new policies on something, we can address it.
Would you be able to, kind of like we were talking about on the other goal, would you be willing to maybe give me an idea so we can plug that in for the rest of the year? You have a couple ideas that I threw out there, but I don't know if those are right or wrong. What do we want to look at in the next month so that we can get on the agendas? We don't put people at the last minute writing policies if we don't have one. I just think, I feel like we're behind the ball on that sometimes, and we're kind of juggling. And I think if you could look at that and give me an idea of which policies should be on the next agenda,
Set
that'd
them
be
up as a
helpful.
monthly thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
So for this, like, our work session that we just had, what I had done is I had reached out with Jody and tried to figure out the best policy and try to have at least one on a work session, because that one on the work session hopefully could be finished
The next one.
by the 2 weeks, and then a new one can be put on a work session so that we're keep going on them.
And some of these policies, we don't need a change on, I would assume. And some we might, we don't know.
Exactly.
Correct.
And I think that's what it takes
So
to
if we
take a
do it on
look
a
at
work
them.
session, and then
We might be able
if
to
we
knock
need
off 3 or
change.
4 at a time if there's no real changes, and get through them before the end of the year.
Correct.
So if you think that's doable, as you put this plan together, can we get through that within the rest of the year, you know?
Yeah, I think we can, because I don't think there's that magnitude of policies out there,
Okay,
other than if we need to develop new policies for something.
right. Okay. The only other things that were in the month of May right now was around the lake level management kind of report that we were going to kind of do, and I think my gut is that we will move that to June,
Probably, yes.
because we're just not quite there with all the details of that, so I can
Everything
move
going
that down to
on.
June. And right now, if you look at June, there is nothing other than policy review, working through the controller's review and goals and expectations, and maybe that lake level review. Is there anything else that you members believe we need to accomplish in June on any one of those 4 goals? Something you'd like to see done? Something like, that's the question for today.
Well, the public
it's a
comment
full slate.
process from May,
I'm sorry.
do we need more work on that to move that to June?
Public comment process, if in person or submitting by an email and respond.
I got something.
She's working on something, so hopefully it will
I'll show you
be.
that too when we get to it, so.
Yeah.
I'd like to just figure out what's June, and then I can share with you a draft of something we can provide to our people at meetings, so. Once again, anything else in June? I know those are hefty things to work through, so it's not like I'm asking for more. I just want to make sure if somebody says, I've really wanted to do this, then now's the time to put it on the plan.
And a big thing is just remembering, this is always going to be a working document. It's going to be continuously changing and things like that. So
Absolutely.
as long as we all are aware and we're all putting together some stuff.
Okay, before we move on, then I will pass out, here is a copy. We had talked about, I'm not going to be able to speak without a microphone. You guys can hear me though, right?
Thank you.
A guide for people when they come to meetings as they sign in that would allow people to kind of understand what are the rules when we work in board meetings. I know even Mr. Connerman had some questions before about how do I FOIA? Can I come to this? Do I talk about it at this point in time? So this should clarify how we do our board meetings. How do you get feedback back? How do you get our information when you come before us to talk and we can't ask questions, how do you get those answered? How do you hear about it again? And you have that choice to say, I would like you to respond to this at the next meeting. So I'm asking the board, and even Jody, I know you guys do a lot with FOIA. So basically, this will talk about when our meetings are, what our jobs are, Open Meetings Act, how do you get board responses, FOIA requests, what's our purpose and our primary functions as board members. And then on the back, I do know that we need to add our phone numbers, but it's our emails and what districts do we represent. And this could just be a regular handout. So this is a draft. I need feedback as to if you need to add, change, or whatnot, and we can put it back on another part of, whatever part of the agenda is that you feel so, Madam Chair.
Probably under unfinished business.
Yeah, yep, that works.
Okay. So if everybody can take a look at these and any feedback, make sure that you get that to Kim.
Sounds good.
Yes.
In regard to FOIA, I may have shared this before, but I'm not sure. A couple years ago, I came to the meeting, and a gentleman came up to me, and he was pretty upset with me. He said, I'm going to FOIA all your reports on this, this, and this. I looked at him, I said, sir, if you want to get all that information, I can just give it to you after the meeting. Often when people, we got him the information, and he was such a nice person after he got the information. I said, if you FOIA, it's going to take us a while to get it. But if you just ask for me after the meeting, I'll give it to you right away. Sometimes it's just easier just to give people stuff when they want it instead of trying to FOIA. I think the public often feels that they need to FOIA stuff to get information. We're pretty transparent. So I gave him the information that he wanted, but he actually was a little mad at me because he said he really wanted to FOIA so he could slow the process down. I said, if you want the process to go quickly, just ask for me and I'll give it to you. We're not that complicated. Just a little comment in regard to FOIA.
And Commissioner Rivera, I agree. I think there's some misunderstanding of what a use of a FOIA is about, and when do you just listen to information or ask a commissioner a question? There is a difference, and I don't think everyone in our community really understands that. So I highly ask for you to review that section in this so that it's clear. When should you FOIA, and when is it just a matter of, hey, what did you say? I forgot that. Okay. There's a difference in when you just give over information and when you need to FOIA. And that there are fees and there are things that are associated with FOIA requests. So I just think it's helpful if we're as clear as possible for the people as we continue to function as a board. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that? Yep. But, you know, I'm very, very happy because for the first time in 5 weeks, we've actually had some really good conversation there.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay. Be careful, there might be a FOIA request.
New business, we don't have anything listed, so we are on to motions and resolutions. So whenever our clerk is ready.
Motion number 1, move to adopt resolution number 2025-05-01, resolution of approval to adopt the Houghton Lake Lake Level Control Structure Operations Manual contingent upon court approval. Whereas pursuant to Part 307 of the Michigan Natural Resources Environmental Protection Act, Act 451, 1994, as amended, the Roscommon County Board of Commissioners in 1982 did petition the Circuit Court to establish and reaffirm a legal lake level on Houghton Lake, located in Roscommon County, Michigan, in order to provide the most benefit to the public and best protect the natural resources of the state and preserve and protect the value of properties developed around said lake. And whereas in 2024, the Roscommon County Board of Commissioners received a property owner petition requesting revisions to the Houghton Lake Lake Level Order, which led the Board of Commissioners to direct the preparation of a lake level study and pass a resolution to update the lake level order. And whereas the proposed amendments to the existing lake level order will revise the 1982 order for Houghton Lake to authorize the use of an operations manual for the existing lake level control structure and add variation language to the lake level order, allowing the Roscommon County Board of Commissioners and its delegated authority to achieve and maintain the 1982 order lake levels on a temporary basis until a new lake level control structure is designed and constructed. And whereas the Roscommon County Board of Commissioners intends that the proposed operations manual will provide guidance for operating the existing lake level control structure based on a different lake level and weather scenarios and is in full support of implementation said operations manual. Now therefore be it resolved that the Roscommon County Board of Commissioners does adopt the proposed Houghton Lake Lake Level Control Structure Operations Manual contingent upon final Eagle approval for submission and formal consideration of adoption by the 34th Circuit Court.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Morley,
Yes.
Censor,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Russo,
Yes.
Wolfson. Resolution adopted. Number 2, move to adopt the updated credit card usage policy effective May 8, 2025. Policy will replace any previous related policies as adopted by the Board of Commissioners.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Milburn,
Yes.
Morley,
Yes.
Wolfson. Censor,
Yes.
Russo.
Yes.
Motion carried. Number 3, move to authorize Administrator Controller Valentino to transfer $7,258 from the General Fund contingency line item to the Law Library Fund for the purpose of increasing the 2025 budget to $33,708. Budget increase is necessitated by a $1,043 monthly increase in Westlaw contract for online services.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Morley,
Yes.
Russo,
Yes.
Censor,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Wolfson. Motion carried.
Committee reports. Commissioner Morley.
All right, April 23rd was the Central Michigan District Health Department's meeting. They spent quite a bit of time on their on-site sewage program presentation of how they're tracking. It was quite a bit of that meeting. I know Commissioner Milburn and I were there. They do have some money from the state to help with that, and I found it interesting. There's over 9 million gallons of septic pumped out in our own district in a year. That's a lot of sewage. It was just, Not that that is what I do for a living, and I had no clue, but that was a pretty large number. I thought it was pretty impressive. They are making budget cuts as well because there are a lot of changes with all the federal regulations. So they're looking to cut about $1 million from their budget. They will not be hiring the deputy director like they were needing or wanting. It was a new position, so they have decided not to do that. And so that's their update. On April 29th, participated in one of Eagle's Inland Lake webinars, which was very helpful for me as I learned more about our lake levels. The 30th, Congressman Bergman's aide, who helps with all of our constituent stuff in our area, Lauren Polly, gave her a tour with Becky at the Northern Michigan Children's Assessment Center because it was a little bit new for them, and knowing this relationship that we're going to be having, it was important for them. May 2nd, based upon some of the feedback we had heard that we had some department heads not happy about micromanaging. Our controller has set up a couple meetings, and so met with the judges with Darlene to understand where that miscommunication came. I think it was a very productive meeting, I think by all that was had. That afternoon also, there was the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Policy Committee that I attended, did some office hours up here on the 6th and the 8th. On the 9th, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Personnel Committee met to start looking at their CEO searches and stuff like that, personnel policies for those. On the 10th, I met with Trustee Osling at Garish Township about their Health of Higgins Lake and their update and the committees that they are structuring to move forward there, just to make sure that we're on the same page of the conversations we have on lake levels and if that would have any impact, or just make sure we're on the same page. It's not on their high radar of what they're working on right now. There's other things, but just to keep that connection strong to make sure that we don't miss something along the way. And a quick update on the solar project for Higgins Township that is still on hold. Our legislators are trying to work through Public Act 233 to see if that can be repealed. Don't know how far that will go, but those are on hold. Commissioner Wolfson gave me a suggestion that there might be somewhere else in this county that has been approached. We thought it was Beaver Creek. Talked to that supervisor. That is not true. About 4 years ago, Consumers Energy was trying to look at something, and that never went forward. So right now, the only one that's possible would be at Higgins Township. That's all I got.
Commissioner Milburn.
Went to the Veterans Committee. As I read the letter from James Furman earlier, that was a great committee that I sat on. They're doing a wonderful job. Kim and I attended the district health together. She gave a good report on that. The other day, I went down to Lansing with the COA. We met with representatives down there. Michelle Hoyinga was there. It was about a 2-hour get-together. It was older Michiganians today. I think it's the third or fourth time I've been down there. It wasn't on the taxpayers' time. We just drove down there on our own. We wanted to meet with Michelle Hoyinga, and a lot of representatives from down south, especially from Detroit area, gave talks about why the older Michiganians Day is important to make sure we support our seniors. Obviously, I went to Nestor in the Township and Roscommon Township. We presented a flag to the Nestor Township Board. That's all I got. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Russo.
I attended the airport meeting. We have a couple of new board members and Darlene, so Eric gave his speech and was worth a donut afterwards. He wore me right out. We let him talk, Mark.
Imagine that.
911 Authority Board meeting. We have a couple more employees that are going on full-time, and they're getting off like their probation, and yep, things are going good there. That's it. Thank you.
I attended the agenda meeting Thursday, May 8th. I also attended the Denton Township meeting on May 7th. This Saturday, they are having their Freedom Park celebration, so anybody that is available.
10 o'clock? Sure. Mm-hmm. We'll be there.
I attended, I was not able to attend the full, but I did attend part of the webinar that was put on by Eagle on the inland lakes. I also had the airport meeting. As Dave had stated, there was a few things in there. The gas that we are charging out there for the planes. At one point, we were charging $5.95 a gallon. It has dropped down to $5.65 a gallon. Currently, there's about 3,500 gallons left on hand. He does believe that we would have to purchase additional fuel probably sometime this summer. They're also looking at a way for when people come in and fly and their planes are there to streamline a way to pay for that, because currently, unless somebody is there, there's no way for them to pay.
Pay down fee?
Basically. The sponsor contracts for the lighting project have been signed and completed. They did do an inspection out at the airport at the end of March on the concrete. The report's not back yet. However, once it is, I'll make sure that you guys know what that report says. I believe he said that report happens approximately every 3 years. And then he talked about some different House bills that could possibly affect the airport and or people with planes, one being a fuel excise tax. Currently, it's 3 cents per gallon, and they're talking about moving it up to 10 cents per gallon. And also a possible increase in airplane registration fees. The Dawn Patrol Fly-In will be held on June 1st from 7 to 11. And he reported that the Young Eagles program will take place on the second Saturday in July, August, and September. They continue to have the Veterans Coffee Hour, which takes place the first Thursday of each month. And as far as his report, he reported on the approach mitigation project is moving very slowly. I believe what that was in regards to swapping land in order to be able to continue the use of the grass runway, if I understood that correctly. The apron rehab project is in the process of being closed out. And the runway, signage, rail, wind cone, and beacon lighting project is anticipated to be about a 14-day long process. The estimated cost is $561,567, with the county share being $28,080. I believe that's slightly under what we had originally thought it would be. The taxi lane project is estimated at $160,000, with the county portion being $0, and those two projects will run concurrent with one another. That's all.
Report on materials management, AKA recycling. Our work plan was submitted. It was rejected, resubmitted, approved, and now they're going to send us a grant contract to look over and sign. In that process of doing the work program plan, we had to have a committee of people that approve of the work plan and so forth. And we needed somebody that does materials recovery. In other words, a place that processes materials to be recovered and reused. I went to the Denton Township meeting, and Dave Denboyer, the supervisor, volunteered to be on the committee in that respect, because they have that center there where you take stuff in and they reuse it. So he volunteered to be on that committee, which is good. So I guess the next step is we wait and see how this contract reads.
It's the only thing that can happen.
Thanks, Rex, because I know that's been an awful lot of stuff going on in there. Board comment, Commissioner Morley.
No, I'm good for now. Shocking, right?
Just a short one. Our 250th anniversary of our country is coming up on the 4th of July, 2026. It's on a Saturday. I'd like to get permission from the board to be able to move forward to have a celebration on that day. I know we've been working with the Veterans Department. There's only going to be a few people hanging out there at their 300th, but it'd be nice to be able to have a celebration marking our 250th anniversary of our country. So I'll move forward to that. I'll get information to the chair vice chair and to the public in the near future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question on that? Which is, I think you had mentioned this a while ago.
Please do.
Is this something that the Veterans Group will be like running and hosting and you want us to be a part? Or is this, you want the commissioners to produce an event that celebrates it?
I will put it together. The bottom line is Dave will have the fire department out there. Ed will have the sheriff's department out there. The chair and the vice chair and the commissioners will all be invited. Jody's always participating in these kind of things. You know, somebody will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Brigadier General Pete Ingesolian to possibly be a guest speaker. Hopefully he'll keep it short. It's important for us to recognize our 250th anniversary.
That'll be at the Cannon Market.
Be at the Cannon like we've done in the past. So it'll all come together, working with the Veterans Department. You know, Phil Baker will do the taps. VFW will shoot the guns.
Nice.
We're pretty well seasoned, and of course Dave will show up there with the fire department.
What day was that again?
4th of July, which is a Saturday
4th of
next
July.
year.
Okay,
For 2026.
Yep.
Still got a whole year away, but it'll come quick.
cool. We'll put that on our action plan for 2026. We've
Yes.
already got something on there.
So my biggest comment that I will make with that is, as you are planning and coordinating that, remember that the Village of Roscommon does host a 4th of July parade, and they do host 4th of July events. And my guess is that either our emergency manager or our sheriff or under sheriff would be able to provide you some coordination with that. So.
Yeah, the whole ceremony shouldn't take about 45 minutes, but obviously we want to coordinate it. We don't want to have a parade going on at the same time. But again, we can always flex the time. I like to keep the date on the 4th. I don't see the parade. I don't know what time the parade is, but they probably don't know either. Then we can do a noon. We could do a noon get together. Whatever time the parade's done, then we'll move over to the Cannon. But I'll coordinate that. More information to follow.
Commissioner Russo.
No, thank you.
I know these past few weeks, there's been a lot going on from a lot of different areas. There's been times where I've been pretty frustrated, but I think I've worked through it. I truly hope, as far as all of the board is concerned, that we can continue to have good discussions, collaborate, debate, and discuss issues that face our county. We will not always agree, and that's okay. It's about the conversation and problem solving that we do as a board that matters. I have the utmost respect for each and every one of you. We have tough decisions to make in the coming weeks and months, and we need to be able to have these conversations and debates so that we can make the best possible decisions for this county. Collaboration and effort is key to achieving success through teamwork. So with that, there was a quote from Henry Ford that kind of touched me that says, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success." Commissioner Wolfson.
I'm good.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Yes.
I've got to start the timer. Michelle Stevenson, County Clerk. So I just wanted to speak a little bit on the strategic plan. First of all, I just wanted to applaud you for actually having this in place and trying to make some progress, because when we spent a lot of time before on a strategic plan and it went nowhere except for on the shelf to collect dust for many, many years. So it's nice to actually see some things happening. As far as meeting with the department heads, you know, several of us have open door policies. You're welcome to come anytime. The only time I actually ever see anybody in my office is when they need something. So, you know, I don't know if you need to do a group field trip on meeting days. Obviously, meeting days are not good for me, because when I get done in this meeting, I no offense, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I've either got to get back because I've got to cover lunches because the meeting has gone on so long, or I need a break, whatever. Some days it's quite pleasant. But anyway, that's that. As far as the micromanaging thing, I've heard that a lot, and I can't speak for anybody else, but I will tell you how I look at it as far as a department head. I do not look at it as micromanaging. I look at it as you learning the job, learning what's going on in the county building and getting familiar with that. So hopefully moving forward, we can continue to improve the services available in this county and improve the relationships. Because the staff that I have right now, the longest anybody has been there, it's going to be 3 years coming up. And I don't know that any of you really even know the people in my office. I know Darlene knows because she deals with them daily quite regularly because of her other job. Commissioner Wolfson's been in there a few times, not so much lately. It's more so in your early years as a commissioner. But, you know, so just make those efforts. You know, I was very excited in the strategic plan initially when the whole concept of the commissioners having office hours, regular office hours. And I've like been waiting. I'm like, is there some posting that went out that I like when somebody's going to be here? So if I have something I want to talk about, I'm guessing that maybe has gone by the wayside. I don't know. Goals and expectations. This was for Jody, for the administrator controller. That was something that's been discussed a lot of times because over the years, more and more things were kind of, oh, well, we'll have Jody do it. Well, we'll have Jody do it. The board would make a decision and we'll have Jody can take care of that. Jody, can you work on that? Okay, so having, and she didn't know I was saying anything at all, but
I didn't
it's
know
like,
anything talked about today, period, so.
but, you know, and I've been here a little bit longer than her, but I've watched how this whole position has grown to way more than what it should be, what her responsibilities are. So yes, I think in my opinion, having some clear goals and expectations for her related to her job, not related to your job. You know, that's been the problem over the years as I see it. And I'm sure that you could probably get that same input from other department heads, elected and appointed. But, you know, you're putting so many things on one person and then all of the other stuff suffers. So I think having some clear expectations for her and goals, not only for her, but for yourselves. So that's where that strategic plan, and I applaud you for the amount of time that was actually spent on it today. It was kind of exciting. And, you know, so that's where I'm at as a department head. You're welcome to my office anytime. I will be happy to discuss anything with you. I know Commissioner Wolfson had asked, he likes the clerk report, likes to hear what's going on. So I know that you had put in there an expectation for department heads to provide reports to you to give you an explanation of what's going on. Hopefully you're reading them. Hopefully you are spending that few minutes and learning what is actually going on in the county building on a regular basis, on a daily basis. If you can't be here because your schedule doesn't allow it and you don't have the time to just pop in, don't come in at lunchtime. Just don't do that. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Jamie Hauserman, department head. I also was not prepared to speak today. However, I feel compelled to talk to you for a few minutes about maybe what my opinion is as a department head. So hopefully that helps you. I can say wholeheartedly, and I can follow in Michelle's thinking of, I have very much so an open door policy. I believe that all of you are very well aware of that. I'm very available to all of you, as I have been to the commissioners in the past. I feel like that's helpful. With that said, I don't know that it is necessary to do a group meeting of some variety, whether that be me sit here and have a conversation with you in a formal meeting style, or whether that be you pop into my office to chit chat or call me on the phone or whatever. As Michelle stated, if there's business to conduct, we all seem to be able to get that done very, very handily. via a phone call or an email or a discussion. All of those things have worked very well over the years. I have no issues at all if you make a policy that says that you're going to do meetings, or if you're going to do some type of a more informal discussionary type basis. I can say that each and every one of you, as you know, have all done that with me and my staff in the past, and I appreciate it. I have no issues with that. That being said, I believe that you have a controller administrator for a reason. The person that I talk to daily is your controller administrator, and I believe that she can convey whatever message needs to be sent also. So in that vein, I don't know that it's necessary to have any types of meetings other than those that are immediate and necessary, to get the jobs done type thing. With that idea, maybe a controller administrator meeting with you and her as a two-person committee, and you guys alternate who that person is, would be a far better suit of our time. So just 2 cents of a thought.
Thank you.
I do.
And snacks.
And like I said, as all of you know, all of you have absolutely spent substantial amounts of time with me, probably more so than others, but more so out of need because of our financial relationship with one another. But at least that gives you some type of an insight as to maybe what other department heads would be looking for.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other public comment? With no further public comment, this meeting will be adjourned and we will reconvene at 11:40.
Sounds good. Jody, let's go.
Board of Commissioners Lake Level Control Structure meeting, May 14th at 11:40 a.m. Roll call, please.
Morley.
Here.
Here.
Wolfson. Russo. Censor.
Here. Approval of the agenda.
So move, Madam Chair.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Wolfson. Morley.
Yes.
Censor.
Yes.
Yes.
Milburn.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Public comment for agenda items only. Any public comment for agenda items? Okay. Holton Lake Delegated Authority update.
Hello.
Hello.
What's the first lake?
Holton Lake.
Lake. Okay. So, first of all, I want to let you guys know that Jay Shupke and Shupke Consulting will be resigning from Delegated Authority. I'll still, until you guys find someone to take over, we'll still be answering the phones and doing the emails. But due to all the controversy on the lake, just feel that's not the right fit right now. I want to let you guys know that in person. I'll also send out in an email. Next, we have the operations manual. We have the hopeful final draft will be posted within the online in the next probably hour. That still has to go back to Eagle for the final proof, but it has all their final revisions on it. It's just they need to look it over one more time, make sure the revisions are to their liking, and then that should be the final manual. As for the downstream study, 2 gauges were put up. One was damaged for some reason. We don't know why, and that will be reset tomorrow and resurveyed in. And that's doing, those gauges are the hi-fi gauges, but they're tracking how much flow by elevation going down the river, so we can determine the flows of downstream and where flows can be increased, where they can't. That is it on Holton Lake, unless you guys
Is there any questions for Chase? Lake St. Helen.
Survey was done out there. They are working on design. I think just to reiterate, they are going to design first and then propose that to Eagle to make sure they're okay with it, and then they'll go back to court to get rid of that Winter Lake level and just hold the one lake level. St. Helen.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
they've done the topographical map
Yeah,
of that
yep,
spot
yep.
then?
That should be done, yep. I saw their control point out there. Oh, I was out there Saturday, closed 2 of the gates. Saw the control point out there.
On St. Helen, are they still up in the air whether or not it's going to be steel sheet piling or
I
vinyl?
I pushed vinyl, but they were worried about the structural stability of vinyl. Back. Luke said he would let me know once they looked into it a little more. But I know vinyl has come a long way in the past. Or sheeting.
They have new engineering specs on the new product then?
Oh yeah, it doesn't photodegrade like it used to. There's a lot of new things out there versus the old vinyl sheeting.
Okay.
Any questions on Lake St. Helen or Chase?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we get to Higgins Lake, with what Chase had just stated, that he's going to be resigning as the delegated authority for Houghton Lake and Lake St. Helen, we're going to have some decisions made, and made relatively quick. His contract was coming due, so we're going to have to, I would assume at this point, name the board as the delegated authority until we can figure out what we're going to do to move forward.
The best at this point.
We need a special meeting to do that then?
Thoughts?
No, you do, because you have to name the delegated authority by resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a part of the statute, so.
So should we have a special meeting next week, or are we okay until the 28th at our next meeting? Thoughts?
I'd do it sooner.
I would,
Madam Chair, tomorrow.
Oh, no.
I can't do it tomorrow.
Bad.
As soon as we can then.
The onus of the lake level control structures legally falls on this Board of Commissioners.
Correct.
In the absence of a delegated authority being appointed by the Board of Commissioners, you're responsible. So the organization of how you're going to communicate who's going to take point on the other 2 lakes is something that you will need to work out. And when you're, maybe that's the focus of your special meeting, and the delegated authority can come in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, you're on the line whether you name yourselves delegated authority or not, is what I'm trying to say.
Correct.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Julie's got a good point. I mean, it falls on us anyway.
Correct.
We need some kind of meeting to formally recognize that. Once again, we're the board that's responsible for the lakes. Yeah, tomorrow would be bad.
I think
Friday's
we
bad.
need
Well,
to
we're
schedule a meeting for
automatically-
next week.
Automatically
We're
responsible anyway.
automatically doing it, Mark. It's
Right.
our obligation, so we don't have to rush into a
No, but what about having one next Wednesday, whether it be in the morning, in the afternoon? I don't know what everybody's schedules are.
This would be a key
Yes.
inclusion. The other portion of that is I can email out the job description that's associated with the delegated authority, because there are functions that you guys don't see from your perspective that are done, that should have fallen under the purview of that, but have fallen a lot on the treasurer's office and the administrator's office. So I'd like to have you guys take that into consideration when you do that, and what that looks like.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm in support, whether it's Wednesday or something, but next week, that we should convene in a special meeting, look at that job description, see how, even though we are technically all delegated authority, how are we all going to manage and do this in the interim? One question, I know he said he's resigned, is that effective immediately? Because he did say he's going to work in that role until there's a replacement, I don't know. But
I think because he understands that ultimately it falls on us, but there was a letter that went out to Houghton Lake residents and regarding the hearing, and his phone number is on that letter. So he will continue to take those calls, I think is why basically he stated.
Okay.
And then currently, I believe he works the website, so until somebody and/or
figure that
that out.
Okay.
Do we want to do the special meeting next week as a work session to determine how we move forward and approved at the next meeting then?
I think that's the full discussion, is a special meeting to discuss all of our options that we have. But again, I don't know what Michelle has available.
The 21st is fine.
Okay,
Not for me, I got another formal obligation I have to participate in, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And that's it. It's a have to be there. It's 11 o'clock.
Let's see.
Honor bound to be there.
Would you be able to do something before that meeting or no?
The prep time, it's
It would have to, yeah.
busy.
Okay.
How about Tuesday, the 20th, Michelle?
I'm not available, but I can have someone from my office clerk the meeting.
I'm available noon on, because emergency management meetings are that morning.
Okay,
If it's a work session, do we need to have someone from the clerk's office?
Who's going to keep record of it?
yeah.
I didn't know if we kept record of work sessions or not.
Yep. We either basically have Tuesday, the 20th, or Thursday, the 22nd.
Thursday, the 22nd, I'm good too.
Probably okay, I don't have a calendar, but I should be okay.
Michelle?
One of my staff will be here.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
Take the
flexible.
time, I'm
Just
good.
remember, we have an agenda meeting that day at 9.
Is good
Right.
for you or bad?
Thursday's good, the one that we're talking about.
Tuesday's not good?
Oh, I thought we were talking about.
We were doing
Thursday.
Tuesday or Thursday.
Tuesday's my preferred day if we can do it.
I can do something on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, that's why, because it was going to be after 12.
That'd be good.
I don't care either way.
Tuesday after 12 is good.
1 o'clock?
That's good.
1 o'clock on Tuesday. Sounds like it's a winner.
We'll eat lunch before.
1 o'clock on Tuesday, the 20th. Houghton Lake, Lake St. Helen Delegated Authority resignation, and then, yeah.
And reappointment.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Morley brought up a good point. We probably need an official letter from Chase. Probably need something that would.
He will. He'll give us
I
one.
heard.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I walk out here and Thank you.
Okay.
And I said probably, something official.
Yep. Higgins Lake Delegated Authority update. All gates have remained closed and are currently closed. I was hoping to have the project that I've been working on available for this meeting. Unfortunately, due to my other job and other commitments, it's not fully ready to present to you guys, but will be shortly. So I had sent an email to Prine and Newhoff asking for an update on the bid request for the hydraulic analysis that Eagle was referring to in their communications back to them regarding the permit. I don't have a formal bid back, but an estimate would be about $10,000 to complete. Now, what all would be included in that obviously, without a formal bid, I don't know. I do believe that if we do the minimum that Eagle is requiring, then will they require a more extensive analysis and survey down the road before they would approve that permit? I think that's something that we really have to look at. We can have a bid laid out as what is included and a price point for each of those things from Pine and Newhoff. However, Eagle's been pretty consistent of their requirements, even from when they gave requirements 6 years ago. It seems like those requirements are standing true today for what they're looking to have provided to them in order to approve a permit out on the control structure. As far as a hydraulic analysis, I guess I personally wanted to know what that involved and entailed. So, hydraulic analysis for a lake level control structure involves evaluating the water flow and elevation within the lake and its outlet channel. It helps determine the structure's capacity to maintain the desired legal lake level and recommends operational guidelines. This analysis considers factors like the structure's dimension, outlet channel characteristics, and external influences like rainfall and runoff. So I have a hard time believing that that and all that that encompasses is going to be what that $10,000 would cover. But I don't know without a formal bid from them.
I think most likely that's just a lot done by calculations and measurements.
Okay.
But the permit was to put stones back in the stream bed and bring it back to its natural level. And I think Eagle's looking for this, maybe, it's hard to say, hydraulic study to support that. If we do that, what's the effect going to be? Mm-hmm. Would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. Not only do they want a hydraulic analysis, though, we have to keep that in mind, but also according to Eagle, they will require that the permit be turned over as an individual permit and a public notice to all lake residents. Any feedback from the lake residents will have to be addressed before they will consider issuing a permit. Those were their words. As far as key elements of a hydraulic analysis, it looks at the hydrology of the watershed, the outlet channel, analyzing flow characteristics, dimension, slope, outlet channel, lake level control structure, where they are assessing the structure's dimension, their gates, their mechanism, the ability to control the water flow, historical lake level data, past lake level records to identify patterns and trends, and external influences like rainfall, snowmelt, and evaporation that are key to affecting the lake levels. They collect data, they do a modeling, analyzing, interpretation, and then recommendations. So those are some of the keys that we have to keep in mind. I'm not opposed to any of that. However, we need to make sure that if we decide to move forward, we need to do it right the first time. The analysis needs to be complete, and we need to make sure that all the information that is required by Eagle is included the first time around. It's evident that the way the current structure sits, it's impossible for this board to maintain the legal level without some sort of rainfall. Even with the rainfall that we've had to the date, if you look at the hi-fi, the level's up and down on a daily basis, constantly. A static level, it's impossible. The board needs to figure out what we want to do in order to stay in compliance. My suggestion would be, at minimum, to ask for a change in the language by asking for a fluctuation while we're working on a permanent fix for Higgins Lake. I also believe that the permanent fix in the end is going to end up being a new structure. That's just my personal thought process with looking at what's been going on. In order for that to happen, this board needs to move forward with an assessment role, which will involve public hearings, computation of costs, and eventually a court proceeding. The boundaries are in place, but without an assessment role, and us applying factors to every parcel that's in the SAD, we're at a standstill with that. We have followed the same factor procedure on Lake St. Helen as we did on Houghton Lake, and it's always been this board's stance to continue those same practices for Higgins. While we're accomplishing this part of the project, we could possibly be getting the bids, et cetera, that will be needed to form the computation of costs. Each of these phases are projects within themselves, with the final project being a new structure that will maintain the legal level. I know I've given a lot of information, but we need to move forward so that we can maintain the legal level on Higgins Lake to the best of our ability, just like on Houghton Lake and Lake St. Helen. I would like the board to think about what process or procedures we have available to get this done so that we can get it accomplished. Again, if we need to add this to our special meeting so that we can get some decisions made, then I think we should do so. If you have questions, I think we need to know what those are in advance so that we can have answers for the meeting, and that way we can discuss all options openly in the meeting. All of this takes time, and we have had Eagle basically take the last 2 permits that we've applied for and add additional requirements during their review process. That tells me that we need to move forward on a permanent fix and maybe in the process get a temporary fix to help us out until the long-term project can get accomplished. Thoughts?
I would
Comments?
agree.
Yes.
I know,
Nope.
It's on, me too.
I would agree. We could add that to the special meeting. Have more discussion. You know, even if it's just the basic half an hour, to put a footprint down where we're going with it.
Yep.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think in the end, we need to have a structure designed to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And that means a clean slate on what's there now. In other words, you put in what we need to accomplish the goal. I think the hydraulic study that has been talked about here would be useful information in helping design that structure. But our funds have run out. We need to find a way to finance all
Yeah,
this.
I apologize.
Nope.
You know, we didn't fund Houghton Lake, you know, we had the Lake St. Helen, and I'm not in favor to moving to Higgins Lake and spending the county's money just for that lake and not get reimbursed. When Houghton Lake's paying for it, Lake St. Helens paying for it, we have to be equal with all 3 lakes. It's not fair to the taxpayer.
We need to figure out an avenue to move forward and get to the end goal despite of everything that's going on.
That's right.
Commissioner Russo, you might have to say that because your microphone wasn't on. I'm sorry, I didn't catch you early enough.
I just feel, you know, Houghton Lake, they paid for theirs. Lake St. Helen is paid for theirs. If we need to move forward, we need monies or guaranteed we're going to get reimbursed from Higgins Lake. It's not fair to the people in Houghton Lake and Lake St. Helen or to the county. We have to be guaranteed or we're at a standstill. And this is not going to go nowhere into that SAD setup. Thank you.
So what I believe you said is that we need to move forward with the assessment role portion of it.
Yep.
Yep.
Without that, we're at a standstill, like Rex said.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I agree, maintaining a static level has never been, I don't know how that ever came about in the first place, that we would have one level without being out of compliance was ever set, but that's not going to happen. I do believe that the future plan, I agree with Commissioner Wolfson, that if we're going to spend money, we need to spend it the right way and not put money or taxpayers' money, whether it's from an SAD or whether it's from their tax, just my normal taxes, on something that's not going to work, and then we have to put more money in to fix it again.
That's right.
So that, not in this time of day where we don't have that kind of money anyway, it's not fair to them or to our county budget and the people that we need to support here in our county building. So a temporary something that if we can get permission as delegated authorities or whoever we might find to help us at least get through finding out all the studies and information so that we can get Eagle approval and another court approval to do something permanent. So we're not reinventing this wheel all the time. 100% support of that. We can't keep stopping. We can't keep letting lawsuits stop us. We have to move. It's not going to please every single person on any lake, any answer that's going to happen. But we have to make the decision, that's our job, to do the best and the right thing as a whole for the county. So I'm full support, have the work session, let's have that discussion, make sure we're all in agreement and have our own debate and get it moving. Because even if we have to go to get a court hearing, that could be another year or so.
That's right.
Even if we knew the answer today. So I think that if we don't keep moving this can down the road, we're going to be in a worse spot in another year. So I'm happy with that.
And I agree with Ms. Morley. The docket at courts sometimes are 6-8 months out. Mm-hmm. So we're that far right out off the bat.
I just want to make sure, because at the Garrish Township meeting last night, I do give an update when I go about what we're working on and kind of what are the key things that are, if you haven't listened to a meeting. And we did talk about this lake level management because it's one of our goals. And one of the things that I tried to share was, we don't know what that answer is today, but we do know that working each lake with a similar process, similar calculations, each of them will have a different answer to what that's going to be for a future project, but that the process, the calculations are fair and equal amongst each of those. I agree. It's not fair for one to pay and one not to pay, that we need something consistent. And an operations manual that will help us in the future make sure that whomever is a delegated authority doesn't misabuse their role and manage the lake improperly, because that has probably been part of our problem years past. So I'm supporting of that. I just want to make sure that I articulated that correctly about the process and the calculations is what we want to we want to keep that the same.
Correct.
Did I say that correctly to them? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I don't think in the past the lakes were mismanaged. That's the system we had, and this is like Houghton Lake, this is the first time there's going to be an operation manual. And that's, before we never even trained anybody on how to manage the lakes.
Right.
I mean, they just said, here, do it. At least now when we get an operation manual for every lake, it's not a matter of curbing misuse, it's a matter of this is the procedure and this is how you move forward.
That's a much better way of articulating it, honestly, because it may not be mismanagement, but if you didn't have something to go by, I interpret that as mismanagement because it's at the whim. There is no process. There is nothing to follow. So probably a better word to not use mismanagement, but there needs to be a process to follow regardless.
Correct.
Long time after I've served in this chair. It doesn't matter. It should be something that anybody could follow and that we have something to go by. This is why we did it, not somebody called me and said I should do it and I just go do it. I don't want that to happen in the future.
And the bottom line is being able to maintain the legal level. That's what we've got to start moving forward and put a process in place to get there. Any other comments? Questions? Okay.
Good.
Next is unfinished business. The letter to the editor, Houghton Lake level control structure. You each got a copy of the letter that I had been working on. I had asked for input from all of you, including our controller and clerk, so thank you. I think with that input, I think we have a pretty solid letter in front of us. I'd like approval to move forward with this. The board has sat quiet while fingers have constantly been pointed at us from all directions. It's time that we let the people know and understand why and how our decisions are made, and I believe that that is a good start. I have spoken with the resorter, and with the board's approval, I'd like to send it to them. They're willing to look at also doing a possible article to go along with the statement.
Companion letter?
Mm-hmm.
Very well written. Whoops, there I go again.
No, you're good.
I think we just need a general consensus to
Yep.
go ahead.
Just need a general consensus that yes, we can go ahead on it.
I would not make a motion, but give,
I support that.
yeah.
I think all our signatures should be on it.
I agree.
Well, we've all had our input on this letter, so.
Not just from, it shouldn't just say from the board, it should, your name should be
Be
there.
on there.
And you originally drafted up, am I correct?
Yeah.
And you did a very well, good job.
Got lots of input. Jody and Michelle especially helped change some wording issues that I had on there. Couldn't come up with the right wording, but they seem to, so thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. So, motions and resolutions, we have none, so we are at public comment. Any public comment?
I don't want to be first, but
Come on up, Craig.
okay. There's so much going on here. My light's on. I always double check. Craig Potterman, Houghton Lake. Boy, I don't know where I want to head first here. I guess I've had some forays with Jody and Michelle Stevenson. I wanted to look at the what do they call that? Anyway, I wanted to look at the. I have these mind things. I apologize. The petition. I'm sorry. I wanted to look at the petition, and it had names and dates and stuff on it, or birth certificates that they had to be redacted. So I guess I withdrew my request to look at the petitions. The cost seemed to be quite high. It was like what, $500 to redact it. Or, pardon? To redact it.
Sorry, great. We can talk later, I can't.
Oh,
not supposed to
okay,
respond.
that's fine. Anyway, sorry I had that wrong. But anyway, I didn't want to spend that. I did want a copy of the dam logs. There's some online, and I guess you found some other ones. So I don't know. We'll get together afterwards on that. I've also asked for the outstanding contracts that our Chase Shepke has had with Prina Newhoff. I believe you had one earlier, and I had a copy of that. I think he's had another contract with Prina Newhoff, perhaps with the operations manual. And I know they're putting in some more equipment downstream, so I believe there's probably another contract there. I'm still requesting whatever contracts that are involved with Chase Shepke and the delegated authority. So I guess that about does it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe I couldn't remember petition. My God, how embarrassing. My wife would watch this.
Any other public comment? Come on up and state your name.
My name's Art Lupke. I am currently the president of the Grosbeek Boulevard Association over in Garish Township. The first thing I wanted to comment is I heard a lot of discussion about a survey on the lake and the hydrology of the lake and that. I worked at the township for a short period of time in the zoning office, and there was a fairly detailed study that had already been done. So I'm not saying it's still good for now, but it might be a good resource to get you started. It had inflows from all the different creeks, rain level, inputs, snow runoff, the amount of water going down the cut, the whole 9 yards. It was pretty detailed, so it might help you out. I am, like I said, I'm the president of the Grosbeek Boulevard Association. We have about 100 members, and what we do is we help pay for the maintenance of the Kelly Beach road end right there. And I'm not sure if all of you are familiar, but it's a very well-used ramp on the east side of the lake, and I mean it gets a lot of traffic in and out of there. Probably, next to the state parks, and maybe the one off of 27, it's probably got the most boat traffic on the lake. I mean, it's lined up pretty much all day long during the summertime. Last year, we have a permit from Eagle to dredge it out and out a certain distance and a certain depth, and we've done that, for 20, 30 years now. I've been involved for about 10 or 11 years. And we have followed the very same methodology. I mean, measuring, sticks and distance out in the whole 9 yards. And I just want to let you know that last year, we did the exact same dredging we always did, and that we could get the boats off on the ramp like we have in years past, but then they would literally back into a hill of sand, because our permit only lets us dredge out a certain distance. So we were at the point where we could get boats in the water, but then we couldn't hardly get the boats any further out. And that area, I mean, that ramp, it really services a lot of people. So I understand what you're doing. I understand that this is a contentious issue. I've been up here, 10, 11 years now. You can't miss it, right? So I'm not trying to tell you what level is which, but one thing that I would say is that, I mean, if we have a predictable, lake level, and, for example, if we need to dredge out further, then we can include that in our Eagle permit the next time, and those are 5-year permits. Okay, so we might be able to adapt to it, but the changing, especially at the amount that it seems to have been changing, at least last year and maybe the year before, it's very difficult for, our organization, and I'm sure the same situation on other parts. So anyway, appreciate it, and I mean, this is a very big issue, for all of us, so appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Dave Shinneman, Markey Township on Houghton Lake there. I was sitting here like you guys, and I heard the news about Chase resigning. I think he did a great job for the time he was here. I think you guys picked a great person to be that. But I'm on the advisory board, or I don't know if we can talk later, but I don't know, is that going to be eliminated there on Houghton Lake now that we don't have a designated authority? That's one of the questions I think I need to be answered. Second of all, I agree with Dave on this issue of Higgins Lake. I think they should have to pay just like everybody else. I don't like the idea that I have to pay for a dam on Houghton Lake. I thought the whole Roscommon County should have paid for it, but we got stuck with that. I pay taxes just like everybody else, and if their dam seems small, our dam's going to be a little bit more, I have a feeling. But I think that's only fair as well. Yeah. I think we're gonna have still water issues. I know we, a lot of people on the lake signed petitions as well for raising the lake. And I'm still in favor of raising the lake level. I think there was a large percentage of people on the lake that signed a petition. And I think that the board should consider still raising the lake level on Houghton Lake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Any other public comment? With no further public comment, this meeting would be adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
By the time you guys paid your fair share, I'll tell you.